I mean, I think it's always risky to miss business, with friendship, but there has to always be some sort of a clear understanding right out the gate, and you have to stick to that.
Without any doubt, the greatest bodybuilding show on earth.
You don't want to miss this.
Best show in the world.
Well, I'm very excited.
Best Arnold weekend ever.
To your winner, Derek Lunsford.
Let's go.
Hey guys, Ivan here, and in today's video we got something very, very interesting, and it's about the guy Cisternino and Nick Walker saga. The new saga we got going on in March of 2026, so we got a couple of new things about this story, so we have to talk about this. I found out who was that coach that Nick worked with for a couple of weeks. After the Mr. Olympia, we kinda got Nick's response to this whole situation, kinda. You'll see in a second, you already saw it in the intro, but you'll see more about it in a second. And also, we got Guy, the best coach in the world currently, Cisternino. I think it's pretty safe to say that. I don't think it's Cisternino because I think Nick brought a much better peak to the Arnold compared to Andrew Jacked. Andrew won because of his shape and structure. Nick brought a really, really good package, his best of all time. So I think Guy's coaching had a lot, probably everything to do with how Nick looked. Now, yes, I scrolled to the comments. I always read your comments, guys. Maybe not all of them because sometimes there's hundreds of comments, but I try my best always to read the comments. I think I owe it that much to you guys for giving me, for allowing me to have this platform. So I try to give back by at least acknowledging your comments, replying to them as much as I can. Sometimes, even if they're negative or insulting me even, I don't fight with you guys back. I reply. I try to be as polite as possible. So I scrolled to the comments and I saw Guy's comment. What I did is I pinned his comment. Even though Guy insulted me, called me a liar, we'll get to that in a second, but I take that accusation very seriously because I try to be as honest as possible. Sometimes, yes, I make mistakes. It probably happened that I wasn't accurate with some of my information, but I don't lie. And in this situation, I just reacted to what Guy said word for word. But if Guy wants his word to be heard and he wants to do that by leaving a comment in my comment section, I'm gonna do him a favor and pin that comment for everybody to see. Now let's read what Guy actually had to say. And so Guy says, someone should make a video about you lying, bro. I repeated 3 times on bro chat, I helped him. Nick did a ton by himself, I helped him. I'm a friend. I think Guy said this more than 3 times. He repeated this so many times, but in the meantime, between repeating that, he described the most devoted prep I ever heard of. Just by saying I helped him as a friend, it doesn't mean you're also saying that you didn't coach him, because you also said that you woke up every single day at the same time because of him. Who the hell does that for a client? That's extreme level of devotion. Also, you drove to see him every week. Who does that? That's very rare. Also, he was sending you updates every single day for the last month. And then, to top it all off, you literally said with your own words, at 10 weeks out, I took over the reins completely. How the hell is that not coaching?
You know, there came a point where he was like, take the reins. Like,
really?
Yeah.
How many weeks out was that?
I'd probably say like 8-10 weeks out, driving down to see him every week and, sending me pictures. I mean, he was sending me pictures like the last month every day. And Nick was very good with like, is the food too high? Is the food? So he was giving me feedback. So that's why, I give him a lot of credit, because before I even did anything, Nick was really Nick did his whole offseason by himself. It looked great.
Yeah.
We know what's happening here. Everybody knows. Everybody knows extremely well. All the people watching this, all the people who watched Fuad's podcast. You know that. Fuad knows that. Nick knows that as well. It's all about what you said and what you didn't say. So don't call me a liar because you said these things. I didn't come up with them. I even said Nick knew way more about his body and made a lot of decisions. Peak week, we were together. I was again an eye with feedback. One thing I won't do is take credit for things I did not do. Nick would not have looked his best if it wasn't for what Nick did before and during prep. It's one thing to get a clickbait. It's another to twist words of statements I didn't make. This video is very misleading, bro, and untrue. I would appreciate if it was removed. Look, guys, I don't know if you are bodybuilders, if you had coaches before, if you are coaches who are watching this. I know plenty of top-level coaches are watching this as well and talking to me about this. And of course, everybody, literally everybody in this world agrees with me. We all know what Guy is really trying to do here. And it's basically to maybe make Nick think that he didn't really say what he said. If he gets to do that, if he manages, I don't know what to say, but I don't think Nick is that dumb either. Like I said, if you had a coach or a client before, having a client who did a proper off-season, who is already an accomplished bodybuilder, who knows a lot about their body and is giving you good feedback and asking you questions, it doesn't mean that you're not coaching them, that you're just helping them, that you're just a second set of the eyes. No, that just means that a client is good at giving you feedback, and that's it. Or good at training, or good at practicing posing, or good at being precise. When I said in my title, Guy did everything, that's the only thing you can grab on and say that was misleading or untrue, because I didn't mean it literally, man. I didn't mean that you did his cardio or trained for him or ate for him. I just meant as a coach, you did everything. I thought that was pretty obvious and logical. I don't know how anybody can't understand that. I was just saying that you weren't just a second set of the eyes based on your explanation. You explained the most devoted prep I ever heard of, which means obviously everybody can see it super clearly. You coached Nick for the Arnold Classic and you revealed that to the public. Now, the only question here really is, was Nick really okay with you doing this? Well, Nick did not address this whole thing at all, even though yesterday he did a full Q&A, a huge Q&A. And even after I mentioned it yesterday, he did more questions. Still, he decided not to answer that question about Guy and the coaching situation. But somebody asked him a question indirectly and breached through Nick's barrier. And Nick replied to a question that wasn't exactly about this, but it basically tells us everything, and we can see through the lines what he wanted to say. So check this out.
I mean, I think it's always risky to miss business, with friendship, but there has to always be some sort of a clear understanding right out the gate, and you have to stick to that.
Okay, I think we all understand what Nick was trying to say here. He just mixed friendship with Guy Cisternino with business. And he says it is always dangerous to do that type of a thing, but you need to set some agreement before you start, and you need to stick with this. The only reason why Nick never spoke about this on his account, why he is ignoring this whole thing that everybody on the internet is talking about currently, is because I'm sure their agreement was not to share this. Not like this, at least, because you guys can see on Nick's Q&A, on his stories, that he's repeating. He doesn't want to have a coach again. He likes doing things alone. He had a lot of fun doing it alone, and he never said that anybody even helped him. He never mentioned anything about Guy until Guy made it public. And of course, guys, I think Guy's a ruthless businessman. He doesn't really care about Nick that much to let this opportunity go to grow his coaching business. And I think that's why he's sharing this probably without Nick's consent. And he thought that by saying, I did not help him, bro, I was just a set of eyes, I was just helping him as a friend, he thinks by doing that, he can just erase everything he said, the whole prep that he described on coaching Nick. And yes, he was coaching him. Everybody can see that. And again, I feel like as a coach myself, I think he deserved to get all the credit he did for this guy. Similar situation actually happened to me once. Probably the most popular bodybuilder from my country over here hired me once. He actually asked me for this to be secret, to be private, and I didn't share it really after the show. He never tagged me. At some point later, I mentioned it here and there. Some guys who were my friends knew that I was prepping this guy, but he never really shared it online. It really felt bad. And at that time, I realized I never want to do this again. I never want to shadow coach anybody because it really feels bad, man. To help somebody, especially if you get them to look really good in this situation. Guy brought Nick to look his absolute best ever, and to not get any credit for it, it just sucks, man. So I think Guy deserves to get his credit, but I don't think Nick is gonna like this because it seems like this was an agreement, or there was a different agreement that Guy wasn't gonna honor, wasn't gonna respect. He decided to share all these details with the public because, again, he wants to grow his coaching business, which he obviously has, because if you follow him on IG, an automatic message will appear in your DM. I don't have this. I reply to everybody manually because I don't have hundreds of clients, and Guy probably doesn't. By doing this, he's probably going to gain another 1,000, so that's a lot of money. And what's one friendship with some kid he knows for a couple of years compared to thousands of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars over the next who knows how many years. Now again, like I said, if you scroll through the comments, you'll see that everybody is on the agreement with me, with everybody. Basically, I don't think there is a single person out there that doesn't see it exactly the way it is. I mean, what's the point of even trying to explain this? I don't know, but I guess I have to. So this guy right here says one of the top comments, actually a top comment, but Guy's comment is above because I pinned it, but this is the top comment. He says, Guy repeatedly said he didn't coach him, yes, and he was just the eyes, but spent 30 minutes explaining how he coached him, lol. Craziest seesaw game ever. And somebody there says, curious if this causes a rift now. These guys likely won't be friends a year from now. Honestly, guys, I think year is a little bit too long. I'm pretty sure, like, in a week or two or a month, I don't think this is going to be a thing anymore because I don't think Nick is going to take this disrespect lightly. I mean, we'll see if he's smart enough. He will just go with this. Maybe, I don't know, try to find some explanation for the public and just have Guy in his corner as a coach because they worked really well together, and if Guy is helping Nick for the Mr. Olympia, Nick actually has a chance of really nailing it because this was Nick's best look. So as a coach, Guy did a phenomenal job, but as a friend, not that great, not that great. Let's be real here. Because I'm pretty sure Nick didn't want things to go down this way, to be announced like this. Guy outing things basically on Fuad's podcast. If Nick wanted to say this himself, he should have done it first without lying to everybody on his stories that he doesn't have a coach, that nobody helped him. He only had Guy as a second set of eyes, which obviously now we can hear through Guy's story wasn't the case. Now, as far as Nick's former coach that was there after the Mr. Olympia for a couple of weeks, that was actually Cameron Cheek. Yep, how do I know this? Well, these coaches talk, and one of the coaches who knew about this told me about this, DM'd me. Apparently, the reason why they couldn't work together is because Cameron Cheek works through spreadsheets. not with an average personalized one-on-one coaching approach, which is my approach, by the way. I have you guys in my DMs. We talk whenever you want. I'm there basically replying to your messages, basically in minutes, sometimes an hour or two if I'm making a video or I'm training, but I'm always there. I don't take too long to reply. I don't do it through emails or something like that. No, you get access to me 24/7 basically. But Cameron Cheek doesn't do it that way, and it didn't work for Nick. Obviously, it wouldn't work for me, most certainly. But he tried, because obviously Nick is trying to go back to Matt Jansen's style of coaching. Cameron Cheek is one of Matt's pupils. He's part of the Jansen camp. So obviously Nick liked the way things were done back when he was working with Matt. Matt is no longer coaching. He tried to do it with this guy right here. It didn't work. He did that off season with Cameron Cheek, then maybe a couple of weeks alone, and then the entire prep, those 10 weeks with Guy Cisternino, even though Guy says he did a whole off season alone. What whole off season? He worked for a couple of weeks with Cameron Cheek, and then he had maybe like 2 weeks, and then he started the prep with Guy. So there was no off season. I don't know what Guy is saying here, but again, I understand that. He's trying to give Nick some credit because the agreement was not to say that this was a basic one-on-one coaching. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on, guys, is that the guy says he lowered Nick's doses.
Was there anything else you changed that he wasn't used to?
A lot lower PEDs.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found this particularly interesting because if you go back, and I don't know where I find this right now, but maybe if you follow bodybuilding closely, you remember when he started working with Dom Super Sliced, what did Dom say? Exactly the same thing, guys. Exactly the same things. He lowered doses, and that's why he looked better. Then, I guess Nick's doses were lower. Then he went to Kyle Wilkes. What did Kyle say? Again, exactly the same things. He lowered Nick's doses one more time. So after that, Nick's doses were even lower. And now Guy is lowering them. So what does this mean? Is Nick natural now? Or is he actually just bringing the doses back up right after he stops working with every coach? I don't know what is going on, but everybody keeps saying the same thing. And Nick also keeps saying that he had the most fun working with this coach and the others. So yes, Nick is also very inconsistent. He's not really honest. Let's be real. That's also the case. I like Nick, but he's definitely lying to the fans quite a bit. That's his choice. He doesn't have to share every single aspect of his life with us. But what Guy did here is quite apparent. He didn't care about the agreement he had with Nick. He wanted to tell the world what he did exactly. And he thought by saying, I only helped him, bro. I was just a friend. I was just the eyes. That all this is gonna just disappear, that Nick is gonna take this as Guy did not tell the world that he actually coached me. But we all see the real truth here. Guy did absolutely 100%, actually 150% probably coached Nick, and he did that to an extreme basically. He committed himself more than any coach would to any client, almost. It's very rare what Guy did for Nick here, and it worked really well. Nick brought his best look ever, even though Nick didn't want things to be like this. To admit that he actually had a coach, he wanted to go with his story that he prepped alone. I'm sorry, it's too late. Guy already spilled the tea. Now we know what's the case, and Guy saying that I lied. I don't know what exactly did I lie about. It's all his words, and I'm just explaining what exactly happened there. What do you guys think? Is this actually going to cause a rift between these two guys? Is Guy actually going to coach Nick for the Olympia? Does Guy even care about that, or all he wants is good advertisement? You guys tell me down below in the comment section. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more content like this. See you soon, guys. All the best, and bye-bye.